The story you will see takes place near Montreal in Kanehsatake, a Mohawk village near the town of Oka, and in Ganawage, a Mohawk reserve south of the city at the Mercier Bridge. 70 kilometers west of Montreal, the municipality of Oka has approved a luxury housing development and the expansion of a private 9-hole golf course to 18 holes into the Pines, which is part of the Mohawk Nation's land. In the early morning of March 10, 1990, the people of Kanehsatake began a protest on a dirt road leading to the golf course. They were given until Monday, July 9, by the mayor of Oka to obey a court injunction granted to his municipality before calling for police action.
Are you ready now to abandon the project?
No. That's it?
In the early 1930s, some people in Oka began playing golf on the commons. The Mohawks complained that their cattle were being chased away with golf sticks and that there was nothing for the animals to eat. In 1947, the municipality expropriated the commons. Even the Mohawks' burial ground became the property of Oka. By 1961, after many trees were cut, the private golf course was completed.
I came up here and I says, "So where's the roadblock?" They said, "It's right here." I said, "This is the road we're blocking? This is the road you've been blocking for 3 months? It's a dirt road." I thought it was maybe a highway, you know. Jeez.
John Cree, our spiritual leader, had just started burning tobacco and he was giving thanks. And about 5:15, that's when the Tilden trucks rolled in and the SWAT team came out. And there was 3 of us that just looked at each other. And one of the women had said, "Holy shit, they're here." Our instincts kicked in and we said, the women have to go to the front because it's our obligation to do that, to protect the land, to protect our mother. And I can remember looking at the faces of the SWAT team, and they were all scared. They were like young babies who had never met something so strong, who had never met a spirit, because we were fighting something without a spirit. There was no thought to it. They were like robots.
Now, when they kept advancing, we asked for a chainsaw. We notched the first notch, and we started the second notch here. The wind picked up and made the upper part of the tree sound like it was falling, a cracking sound like the tree's coming down. They started screaming and taking off, and they started tripping and everything else, running back to the road. But as they were running, they tear gassed us and percussion bombed us.
For sure, we weren't moving, no. They can try whatever they want to get us out, but we weren't leaving.
The pines are still when the police throw tear gas at the people standing there. Suddenly, the wind comes and the smoke turns towards the police and onto Highway 344. In support of the Kanehsatake people, the warriors of Ganawage block all highways leading into their reserve. By 7 a.m., they close the Mercier Bridge, which handles over 65,000 vehicles a day.
"Get down, everybody get down." So they start running. I says, "Hit the ground, you gotta lay down, because they're shots, huh?" I didn't know where they were firing. But once that first shot, first bullets, then our men start shooting back.
Coming in! Coming in!
The people in the pines are very sad when they hear that Corporal LeMay has been shot and died, and they know that they will be blamed no matter where the bullet came from.
After LeMay was hit, they come in with an ambulance, remove Corporal LeMay, and they all retreated immediately. I believe when the firing started was when they started jumping them shrubs. And any hitting of a tree, any hitting of a shrub or falling would fire it. It could have been by accident on their part.
Whoever had the car keys must have took off. And he left the men, their own men. They couldn't run away. I mean, they couldn't drive away. They couldn't drive away because it was all locked.
The warriors react immediately. They use a front-end loader abandoned by the Sûreté du Québec to make several barricades, this time on the main highway, the 344. The first stand is made in the pines by the Longhouse people. The Mohawks now present a united front in spite of tensions among different factions in Kanehsatake. Warriors from other communities come to support their brothers and sisters in the pines.
I think we all conducted ourselves in a very honorable way, because we did try to avoid violence, and we knew what they came there for. And we knew that as it progressed, something really bad could happen. We just felt it. It was something that you could taste almost in the air.
A very tense atmosphere prevails. More than 1,000 police officers arrive in Oka, a village of 1,800 people. Heavily armed police set up roadblocks about 5 kilometers outside the village.
I had already had enough trouble this morning. As soon as they found out I was a Mohawk, they told me, no Mohawks today, out.
Qu'est-ce que je fasse? Qu'est-ce que tu charries ça? Ah oui, mais mets-toi à ma place, sacrément! Si tu veux lever ça tout seul, tabarnak!
All non-residents and all First Nation residents of Oka are turned back.
The way they treat the media reminds me in some ways more of a police state than a democracy.
Moi, je me disais que il n'y avait rien à nous reprocher à nous autres, fait que je me faisais pas trop de peur.
Ils peuvent être cachés dans la forêt, là. Ils peuvent être cachés n'importe où. Tu les vois même pas, toi.
Residents of Châteauguay are furious because the Mercier Bridge is still blocked. The crowd vents its anger on the effigy of a Mohawk warrior, yelling, "Savages!" Seven mayors from surrounding municipalities express support for Mayor Ouellette's decision to call in the Sûreté du Québec.
Si on négocie 75% du territoire de la province de Québec, comment doit-on regarder ce dossier? Il faut regarder la tête claire, il faut le regarder de façon à ne pas provoquer les choses, mais ce sont les questions que l'on se pose. Est-ce que vous accepteriez qu'on négocie votre terrain? Est-ce que vous accepteriez qu'on négocie 75% de la province de Québec?
Mr. John Chiachia, Minister of Indian Affairs for the Quebec government, comes to Kanehsatake for the 4th time in an attempt to negotiate with the Mohawk people. In his letter of July 9 to Mayor Ouellette, he wrote, "This people has seen its land disappear without any consultation or compensation, which I consider unfair and unjust. and all for a golf course. Once again, I request that you postpone the golf course project indefinitely.
Et M. Chacha, son chef de cabinet me l'a affirmé, voulait venir ici. Le maire d'Oka alors lui a interdit de venir, qu'il avait pris sa décision et que c'était entendu qu'il prenait action.
We have an agreement to reopen Mercier Bridge shortly, subject to the working out of some practical details. I also believe that we have the beginnings of a proposal which would settle the entire situation with the people of the Mohawk Nation.
The people in Kanehsatake did that in support of us. And as long as our demands aren't being met, the bridge will remain closed. I mean, we're talking about human lives, we're talking about our rights. This is our territory, and the government has to acknowledge that.
La moitié de ce terrain-là qui est convoité par la municipalité, ils doivent faire un golf avec, et l'autre moitié faire un développement domiciliaire. Et puis, nous étions, la majorité des gens ici, contre le projet. Mais le maire a complètement fait fi de nos suggestions et même fait fi de la suggestion du ministère de l'Environnement qui lui suggérait de faire une étude avant de projeter quoi que ce soit. Les Blancs, ça leur prenait des papiers, si vous voulez, pour appuyer leurs droits. Mais à l'époque, les Amérindiens, on sait très bien qu'ils ne savaient pas lire, écrire, puis il n'y avait pas d'avocat non plus. Mais il y avait quand même un cœur, puis de l'honnêteté. Puis on ne l'a pas respecté. En réalité, c'est à se demander vraiment, mais vraiment, qui est le plus évolué dans cette affaire.
Many residents of Oka and Kanehsatake have left fearing another attack. After 8 days in hiding, Mayor Ouellette reappears in Oka.
L'homme qui est mort dans cette confrontation.
Ben oui, je comprends tout ça, monsieur. On est conscient de ça. Mais l'opération policière, là, c'est pas nous autres qui l'a commandée, c'est pas nous autres qui l'a faite.
C'est très, très inquiétant, ça. Quand un conseil municipal dit on prend des décisions, mais on n'est pas responsable. Ces gens-là doivent être, par définition, responsables à la population des gestes qu'ils posent. C'est pour ça qu'ils sont maires et conseillers.
Vous revenez à Oka. Est-ce que vous feriez partie d'un comité de réconciliation entre les citoyens qui sont divisés ici?
Quand vous parlez des citoyens qui sont divisés, vous parlez des citoyens...
D'Oka, ici, les Blancs?
D'Oka. Moi, on est prêt à les rencontrer. J'ai jamais eu de problème de ce côté-là.
Donc, vous avez l'impression que toute la population est derrière vous?
Est-ce que réellement, il y a une dissension dans les Blancs?
I'm angry at the mayor because he started the whole mess.
Ben oui, je suis pour le gars. Comme ton gars chez vous, on a ce chien sale de rat. Il est avec moi. Hey, Martin, il est avec moi. Si, par exemple, les gouvernements avaient... S'ils n'avaient pas reculé devant leur responsabilité, ils auraient pu prévenir ces choses-là.
Si le maire avait écouté Tchatcha hier, ça ne serait pas arrivé, ça.
Mais il faut quand même respecter la loi. Eux autres, c'est terrains indiens, OK? C'est eux autres! Tabarnak!
They know very well what they're fighting for. And it's probably worth much than just 9 holes in the ground.
A peace camp is established in Oka. On this first weekend, more than 2,500 people come from across the continent to show their support for the Mohawk Nation.
For over 100 years, they have tried to look after us, but they have failed miserably. It is us who can determine what is best for us. We will determine our own future.
The greatest threat to unity and democracy in this country is not the Aboriginal people, nor the Quebec, but rather the lack of leadership of the Government of Canada.
You should wake up and learn that history can teach you many things, but you've got to listen.
This is an opportunity for Canada to express whether it can live up to its almighty mandate for human rights that is so well known for throughout the world.
Why is it
that we live in a country where the police never come to the aid of the Aboriginal people. And yet we see them across this country being utilized by provincial governments to suppress the rights of the Aboriginal people of this country.
The purpose of today's statements by myself, in the presence of Father Sauvageau, in the presence of my colleague, Mr. Sam Elkis, and Claude Ryan, is to clarify once and for all, and I will repeat, there is free circulation of food on both sites.
To bring food and medication into the community is a constant problem. Volunteers with donations from Montreal always had to argue their way past police roadblocks.
People think the Red Cross is helping, and they're not helping. So far, they've come in with only food to feed 110 people. They told us on Friday, when we started this operation, that they would bring our food in for us. Then they told us no, they weren't going to come in because we might be bringing in guns and ammunition.
6 kilometers away, they are stopped at an SQ roadblock, where every item is checked. They wait for 7 hours, and then they're turned back.
There will be no restrictions in terms of the delivery of food. It has never been the policy of this government to do that, and we want to clarify this once and for all.
The truckload is taken to this farm, where Mr. Martin agrees to store the food.
11h30, ils m'ont demandé s'il faut stocker de la nourriture au frais. Je l'ai mis dans le cooler. Après ça, on a mis les conserves dans l'entrepôt, dans le garage. Il y avait 3 pick-up, bien plein. Il y avait un vrai 100 chars de SQ qui se promenaient dans le Rhin ici à l'heure. J'aimais pas trop ça, les voitures. Moi, je m'inquiétais pour les autres en haut. Fait que là, ils sont partis à Montréal avec ça parce qu'ils ne pouvaient pas rentrer dans la réserve.
Qui contrôle la police? C'est le gouvernement qui la contrôle.
Donc,
il y a des façons.
Non,
on n'a jamais coupé les vivres. Vous savez que les gens ont pu sortir puis ont pu rentrer avec des vivres. Tout ce qu'on vous mentionne aujourd'hui, on va rendre encore une façon plus facile pour que les gens à l'intérieur qui ne veulent pas sortir, d'aller s'alimenter à des dépanneurs à l'intérieur des barricades.
Well, all of a sudden, the government has decided to get involved in all this. Where have they been for the last 14, 15 days? We've been out food for a while. This is about maybe the third official truckload that has come through. We've got very little to give to many.
In the federal school at Kanehsatake, a food bank is established for those who are afraid to leave the community.
You finished that?
The people are determined to protect the pines. Judge Alan Gold is appointed as mediator by Prime Minister Mulroney. It is also announced that the army will replace the SQ. The warriors reinforce their barricades.
I'm willing to be here right until the end. If something does go down where we get shot up, fine, you know. But as far as being afraid, I mean, I think fear is a very big part of what keeps people alive, and hopefully I'll come out of this alive.
A group of Oka residents demonstrates against the Mohawks, while in Chateauguay, people march in support. Across the country, Aboriginal people blockade roads and railway tracks in solidarity with Kanehsatake. After 4 days of intense negotiations, Judge Alan Gold succeeds in bringing everyone together. There is a feeling of hope and reverence as John Cree leads Mohawk negotiators and representatives of both governments across the original barricade.
Wadari wate jadu, just kunena ohondo gari wade kone, gari ho hetstu. Tahina werado ne seguayati zonzi nahoda rogeru.
These barricades will come down.
upon mutual agreement of the terms of disengagement. These barricades are just a physical manifestation of the barricades that have existed between our nations since contact occurred in the Western Hemisphere almost 500 years ago. You got that one? Right here.
The three preconditions to negotiations being signed are: 1. The International Federation of Human Rights will choose 24 representatives to observe the negotiations. 2. Spiritual leaders, clan mothers, advisors, and attorneys will be free to come and go. 3. Kanehsatake and Ganawage will have unimpeded access to the basic necessities of life.
I am proud to say that I am a Mohawk within the Mohawk Nation of the Six Nations Iroquois Confederacy. When we started this blockade, something had to come out of it that would progress our cause and unite our people. This agreement is something that our nation has been searching for many years. Recognition of who we are as a people, not just as Mohawk people, but as the first people of this continent. The struggle is not over. As we say in Mohawk, Skana, which means peace.
I think there's something especially significant in being here in this pine forest this afternoon to witness a step which we hope will ensure, as Ellen Gabriel put it, that there will never, ever again be another July 11th. This is a place of tranquility and great historical and spiritual significance to the people of the Mohawk Nation, and we respect that.
We must live side by side with the Native people, with the Mohawk Nation, and I'm very hopeful that we will be able to arrive at a peaceful, negotiated settlement in the mutual respect of all the peoples that are involved.
As far back as I can remember, there has always been a struggle. I hope that the Creator will give you the integrity to fulfill these things. Tareto.
My great-grandfather, my grandfather, and my father have been fighting over this, and I never thought I'm going to see it myself to come up like this.
On the same day, protesters occupied the Saint Louis de Gonzague Bridge west of Chateauguay. They demonstrate against the continuing blockade of the Mercier Bridge. In Chateauguay, the rioting escalates. Anti-Mohawk protesters take over a semi-trailer delivering vegetables. It is estimated that on one night, more than 7,000 people took part in the rioting. Three days after the signing, the army makes its move. 2,600 troops of the Royal 22nd Regiment are deployed in positions near Oka and Ganawage and await further orders.
I, myself, am a traditional Native. And I follow our Constitution, which was given to us by the Creator. And in there it states that Runiskaregete, in our language, Runiskaregete. As close as I can bring it that to mean in English would be the men. It's our responsibility to protect the people within. There is a place in our Constitution, and when our services are needed, our help is needed, we have to go.
Despite the presence of the army, talks begin between Mohawk negotiators and provincial and federal representatives at the Trappist monastery in Oka. The Mohawk people have always had good relations with the Trappists, and this place is considered to be a neutral zone. Back in Kanehsatake behind the barricades, the warriors get ready as the army takes over the town. At the bottom of the hill, General Leroy meets with 3 warriors flown in from Ganawage, 2 warriors from Kanehsatake, and 3 from Akwesasne. They are given an ultimatum. They have 3 days to open the Mercier Bridge before the army moves in. After the meeting, the 3 warriors are flown back to Ganawage by army helicopter.
Now they asked me to move out and go to a hotel somewhere just in case if something happens. What's the use to run away? If God's willing to die here, I'll die here.
The irony is that the army helicopters are landing behind the Sulpicians church, where the trouble all began 270 years ago. For thousands of years, all this land was Aboriginal land. Long before the white man came, the Ganyangehaga, people of the Flint, known as Mohawks, had governed themselves within a confederacy of 5 nations they called Haudenosaunee. The Mohawks were the keepers of the eastern door of the 5 nations' territory. In 1535, on his second voyage to Canada, Cartier reached the main Iroquoian village, Hochelaga, now Montreal. At the foot of the mountain, he saw about 50 long houses in the middle of cornfields. In 1663, the gentlemen of the Seminary of Saint-Sulpice in Paris were named the seigneurs of the island of Montreal, and so began the dispossession of the Aboriginal people of this country. In 1676, one of their missionaries began visiting the Mohawk village located where downtown Montreal is today. The Mohawks were displaced from their homeland and moved several times by the Sulpicians. Finally, they were told to move to a settlement on their hunting grounds at the mouth of the Ottawa River or Lake of Two Mountains. The settlement was called Kanehsatake. In 1716, in the name of the King of France, Louis XV, who was then 6 years old, a written promise was made to the Mohawk nation of land 9 miles square on condition that should the Mohawks leave, this land would revert to the king. The king also accorded the Sulpicians 1.5 miles by 9 miles next to the Mohawks' land. But the Sulpicians were not happy with this decision. They wanted all the land because it was a well-established meeting place for trading. A year later, they succeeded, with the help of the governor of Montreal and the intendant, to have the entire tract of land granted to themselves. They did not inform the Mohawks of this action. The deed was sent to France for approval. It was pointed out that this move would help in the conversion of these savages, and that in time of war, they would offer protection against incursions by other Iroquois. And so, the Sulpicians became the seigneurs of Lake of Two Mountains, on land that had been the hunting grounds of the Mohawks from time immemorial. Not knowing of this treachery, the Mohawks remained faithful to the Catholic Church and the King of France, and fought on the side of the French against the English. By 1721, the last Mohawk families were persuaded to leave the island of Montreal and move to Kanehsatake. Understanding that they would not be asked to move or be molested again, they made a wampum belt as a record of their rights to the land. Just to the west, the Algonquins and the Nipissing people had hunting grounds on both banks of the Ottawa River, and they were also on Lake of Two Mountains. By 1760, the British had taken control of New France. A notice was sent to Kanehsatake that unless they pledged allegiance to the King of England, their village would be destroyed. The chiefs met in full council with Sir William Johnson. They were told that title to their lands and freedom of religion were guaranteed in the king's name. All those who did not wish to be subjects of the British Crown had 18 months to sell their land. The Sulpicians were in trouble. They couldn't sell the land because the Mohawks were still living there. So, 4 months before the deadline, the head of the seminary in Paris transferred title to the land to the seminary in Montreal. The superior of the order then swore allegiance to King George III. On February 8, 1787, after years of being told by the Sulpicians that they did not own any land, not even a shrub, the Mohawks used the wampum belt to convey concern to Superintendent General of Indian Affairs, Sir John Johnson. Said Chief Agneta,
"You see this white line, which shows the length of our land? The figures holding hands who rejoin the cross represent the loyalty which we owe to the faith that we hold. The body represents the council fire of our village. The 2 dogs on the outside are supposed to guard the boundaries of our land, and if anyone attempted to interrupt our possession, it is their duty to warn us by barking."
For the Iroquois, the wampum belt was a record of laws governing a 5-nation confederacy ruled by a council of 50 chiefs. This system of government would influence the future establishment of a democratic charter in North America. As the years went by, every chief took up the struggle to have their rights to the land recognized. Notable among these was Joseph Unasanganrat, a young Mohawk. The Sulpicians noticed in Joseph a man of more than ordinary intelligence and influence with his tribe. They immediately began to patronize him. They sent him to the Collège de Montréal in order to prepare him for the priesthood. In 1868, at the age of 23, Joseph was made head chief of Kanehsatake. There was a nobility in his character that scorned anything that was false. For the first time, the Mohawks had a chief who could read and write the white man's way. As secretary to the Sulpicians, he soon discovered the extent of their false dealings with his nation. Chief Joseph, accompanied by Algonquin and Nipissing chiefs and a group of his people, marched to the Sulpicians' house. He confronted the fathers.
"We have come to inform you that you have not dealt justly with us, and that we want you to leave our land, as we do not want to be robbed of our heritage. This land was given to you in trust for the tribe to whom it belongs. And how have you betrayed that trust? By selling the timber and filling your treasury with the proceeds of stolen property. This land is ours as a heritage given to us as a sacred legacy. It is a place where our fathers lie beneath those trees. Our mothers sang our lullaby, and you would tear it from us and leave us wanderers at the mercy of fate."
The brother of the Bishop of Montreal came to Oka and threatened the chiefs that he would shut them up in Kingston Penitentiary for life if they did not obey the priest. He also informed Chief Joseph that the government has bought land for them in Ontario. Chief Joseph replied,
"We will never go there. We will die on the soil of our fathers, and our bleaching skeletons shall be a witness to nations yet unborn of Rome's injustice and greed.
In response, the priests asked Quebec to send police, who imprisoned Chief Joseph and many of the people of Kanehsatake. In July 1990, this sad legacy continues. On Saint Germain Road, the bus carrying Mohawk negotiators is intercepted by armed personnel carriers. The army informs them that death threats have been received. The negotiators do not believe them. Their suspicions are confirmed when they see the army advancing.
It's such a beautiful day, you know.
You wonder where the honor has gone, huh? Does your Canadian politicians have any?
Question, where are you going from here then?
I will stop there.
To our houses?
Okay, I will
and
stop
kill
there.
us?
Can you please stop there? I'm not going to kill anybody, ma'am.
Well, stand, pull back.
This is how you call peaceful negotiation?
Okay, continue à avancer. Okay. Continue à avancer. Nice, too gentle, okay? Yeah, nice, too gentle. Too. Go on the other side. Let's go.
Major Alain Tremblay is in charge of this maneuver.
Ça marche. Safe.
Why aren't our liaisons contacted about every move that's being made? Because that was one of the agreements. This is seen as an offensive action. There are tanks up there on those hills. That's our land that they're encroaching upon right now with their tanks. And we want them out of here.
Wait. Something happens while we're out there.
This is an intimidating factor. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to do. They're on safety on both sides. Please understand this, okay?
You got that confirmed?
This move that you're making will be the last one. Because from here on in, I guess we're going to be burying each other. Because we won't move no more.
But my mandate, as a soldier, as a military people, called here by our government, is to make sure that we take a position on the ground so we can ensure the security and the safety of everybody around here. So we know we can do that safely without using a weapon. No Canadian military soldier will fire one shot. First.
A group of spiritual leaders from Mexico have come to support the Mohawks.
One of these religious leaders told these people the truth, as they were stealing land, killing people, breaking agreements, their religious leaders with them every Sunday, baptizing them, communion, confirmation, all their sacraments.
At the Trappist monastery, negotiations are in danger of breaking down.
You're ready to go back to the table even if the army doesn't pull back from that checkpoint?
We're going to go back to the table and we're going to do what we have to do to come to a peaceful resolve. We're not going to be the ones that's going to walk away from the table. We're not going to be the ones that's going to pull the trigger.
It seems that the government wants these talks to fail so that they can have a legitimate excuse to put the army on the Indian people and kill us.
There's every indication that they feel that somehow they've been misled and that we had known all along about these maneuvers. I can say to you that we didn't.
The negotiators representing the Canadian and Quebec government pleaded innocent. But then when questioned later, they said, well, we knew that something was going on this morning. but we weren't too sure what.
Somebody had asked me, how far are you willing to go? I said 6 feet under. And I think that's what's gonna happen. You're gonna see a death feast. You're not gonna see land claims. And they're proving it. But that's what they want, huh? Shut up keep the Indian nation down where they had them for so many years. If I go to jail, I'm gonna walk through those doors in honor. I'm not going in as a junkie. Nothing to be ashamed of. Yeah. And when I come out, I'll teach my children and my grandchildren to fight. No more compassion. I've had it. I was raised as a pacifist. I was raised that if you don't want to have prejudice on you, don't put it out. And we went through a lot, but this has changed me. I've never been violent. I've never thought to hit out, to strike out. But now don't look at me sideways, because I know I'll never bow down to them, because they just step on your hands. If this is civilized, I'd rather stay on this side of the barricade.
Are you gonna let us look in the truck to see if there's food in there?
Let them. No, I have to wait for my boss. Ça va, Mahawk? Let them transmit the food. 20 qu'à garder à l'intérieur sans de nourriture.
Oui. Top wheel, beds, and things like that.
Can I get up there?
Oh, yes.
That's 8 boxes full of food. Check if you want. State.
A lot of checking. Let it go through.
Satisfied?
Yeah.
Okay, now, just to make sure that we are, on the same, length of weight, There's 3 meals a day that has to be served, And we've got, to give the meals to our men.
I understand.
Now, you agree with me today, right now, here in front of all those cameras, that you will not object anymore?
No, as long as they could.
Okay, can I have your name, please? I don't want your real name, just give me a name that you use.
361.
361? Okay, so we have agreed with 361 that from now on, every day, at every meal time, there will be a truck, 2.5 tons like that will be passing through to go, to our people on top of the hill.
Okay,
is that okay?
Not a problem. As long as it's a truck of food, not the APCs like this morning.
But don't everybody stay tense. We need one man and one man, whatever. If they got a man over there, we're short a man over there. We got a man there, fine. But nobody else be tense, get your arrest period.
It's like an obstacle course that they've set up. It's harder to go through. The day before yesterday, it wasn't that bad with the army, but now it is, and this is really bad.
Mais j'ai l'impression c'est parce que c'est leur façon de nous faire pâtir.
Ça me prend 1h30 pour aller au village. D'habitude, ça me prend 2 minutes. Si c'est pas ici qui tarde, c'est l'autre au village.
Puis trouvez-vous qu'ils font attendre plus les Mohawks que les autres? Oui?
Ben oui. Regarde au village quand on a sorti, des blancs ils ont sorti comme à rien. Là, ici, on va en prendre plus longtemps. Ils nous laissent passer quand ça y tente.
After 7 days of negotiations, the talks are broken off.
The negotiators on the government's side have reached the limit of their mandates and are ill-equipped to carry on the discussions at this time.
And we are equally at an impasse on the proposition made by the provincial government in relation to the depositing of arms, which they categorically do not wish to do, and they did not come back with a counter-proposal of how to deal with that issue.
The Mohawks called their own press conference for 7 o'clock that evening behind the barricade. 13 out of 15 issues had been agreed upon. There remained the question of sovereignty and potential arrest for the warriors after a disengagement. A feeling of discouragement had to be overcome.
Amnesty implies that we did something wrong and we are to be forgiven for it. Our position is that we were defending our nation and our land, and we are not to be blamed for that.
We are native people to this land. We're not trying to take your land or anybody else's property. You ask if there's an imminent assault here? Yes, there is. Within a few hundred feet from here, you'll find the armed forces. Yes, they're ready for an assault. We were here to protect our burial grounds and the pines from a 9-hole golf course. You must keep that in mind. Have you forgotten?
Army flares are frequent. On Saint Germain Road, the army sets up a checkpoint. Only a string of razor wire separates the warriors from the military.
Is it possible to get out?
Yeah, no problem to get out.
Okay.
No
problem to come in, too.
Problem to come in.
What problem?
Who's going to feed the animal? Why?
What? Why?
Because it's an orders.
By whom?
Mavis Etienne, a Mohawk negotiator, is arrested by the SQ and detained for 5 hours.
They came to me and they said, "You're under arrest, Mrs. Etienne." And I said, "For what?" And they said, "For being behind the barricades and for intimidation and all kind of stuff like that, not obeying the injunction." They'd have to arrest Sidden, and they'd have to arrest Judge Gold. They'd have to arrest Chiacha, because they have all been on the other side of the barricade.
On s'en allait au village porter des femmes de d'autres communautés qui étaient venues ici dans la première journée. Quand on a passé le barrage, ils nous ont fait déshabiller avec les femmes. Puis,
Complètement?
Oui.
Dans la rue? Dans la rue?
Oh oui.
Combien vous étiez?
On était 7.
Mais ça devait être humiliant.
C'était comme ça.
Just when I told him I'm entitled to a phone call to my lawyer, the officer sitting in the passenger seat laughed, turned around, and he punched me in the face. "Which gun did you have when you killed me?" I'm there, "What do you mean? I didn't kill nobody." Then just because I said that, another slap or a kick in the testicles.
J'ai été pris comme un Indien et on voulait m'exterminer. Il y en a un qui vient près de moi, puis avec une mitrailleuse, puis il me dit ça crache 30 balles seconde. La balle est dans le canon, puis tout le monde on avait toute la balle dans le canon, puis on était prêt à tirer. Aurais-tu aimé ça, recevoir cette décharge de fusil-là dans ton pare-brise? Là, il insiste, je vais te coucher dans le bout, tu gardes le silence. Bon, là, après, mon fils est arrivé, il est rentré dans l'auto. Écoute, excuse-nous, on est nerveux, à soir, il se passe toutes sortes de choses. J'ai dit, je le vois, je constate, là, tu sais. Puis à peu près au même moment, au même instant, la planche est partie, le coup est parti, puis la balle a été tirée au sol. Ça m'a éclaté, j'ai reçu ça dans la figure. Puis là, mon fils était à côté de moi, il a reçu de la poule en figure. Yannick, il tremblait.
Il s'est excusé de m'avoir fait peur de moi.
Cet instant-là, je le garde.
They put the cuffs on my back. They asked me to stand up. And one of the officers asked me if I smoked. I said, I was more than happy to have a cigarette. He lights himself a cigarette, blows his smoke in my face. Just when his cigarette just about out, about an inch long, he puts it out on my belly. He actually put his cigarette out on my stomach, and then he pulls on my pants and he puts it down my pants. And they call us savages, I mean. And finally, I had enough. 2 or 3 hours of getting beaten on. I signed it.
An empty sheet.
Yeah.
Toughest challenge for any government in the Western world and our world is to defend democracy against people who do not believe in democracy.
Well, really praise Bourassa's government for the way it's been handling the situation in Oka.
We are not going to accede to requests
from a group of warriors, some of whom are not even Canadian citizens, and whose actions have been, to understate the case, illegal for some considerable period of time.
Our troops will confront warriors that have a sizable and effective arsenal. Media coverage of the warriors has shown that they have a large number of modern weapons.
Now, Tony Ross, in Kanehsatake, there was some question about what kind of armaments the warriors had in there. The Army suggested maybe a mortar, maybe some really tough machine guns. What have the Mohawks said about that?
The Mohawks won't confirm or deny what they have. I mean, I can tell you the people standing around me here, I guess I can see some kind of rifles. I've seen something that looks like semi-automatic weapons. I'm not a weapons expert, but mostly rifles and shotguns around here now. But nobody will confirm or deny some of the heavy armaments that the Army's talking about. The Mohawks here are saying maybe the Army's saying they've got all this equipment to justify some sort of show of greater force.
Maybe this is the decade that roadblocks are going to be throughout Canada because people are fed up, and the only thing that the governments understand is right here. Fish is dying, the air is dying, the plants are dying, the animals are dying. We're not too far behind them as the Mohawk Nation.
A mob attacks a convoy of 75 cars with old people, children, and women from Kahnawake as they leave the reserve fearing an army assault. One passenger, an elderly man, later suffered a heart attack and died.
This is what they threw at my father. This is what hit him in the chest.
Her 77-year-old father was badly injured.
And I'm going to remember those faces.
A number of houses in the area are vandalized by various people. In one case, 2 warriors are suspected. Needless to say, the community feels this is very bad. An agreement to open the Mercier Bridge is reached between the army and the warriors of Kahnawake. The barricades are dismantled. The people of Kanehsatake are shocked when they hear the news. They feel abandoned.
We have tanks now at our heads. Army helicopters going by have machine guns. We have 1,000 SQ officers waiting to come in. But we will not surrender. We've done nothing wrong. We're not criminals. They've tried to intimidate us and break our spirit, create division amongst our people. Once that bridge was open, it's fairly evident they could do what they like now. And they're doing it. And this is what they call peaceful resolution.
You want me to help you? Oh, I can't. I gotta go.
The warriors move out of their bunkers as the army invades the pines.
Back over there! Get back! Now!
Meanwhile, on the 344, Boltpin, an unarmed warrior in a golf cart, defies the army, while Mad Jap hears from Sector 5.
I'll leave your piece behind, please. I'm unarmed. You don't have to be armed.
Want me to hold?
Get your fucking gun down! Come on, you guys! Fucking kick your ass! Come on! Come on! Come on! Come on!
Like I told you, man, you should have stood open the road. So everything was blocking the road here. I ordered to push it with the dozer you saw behind me.
I see.
So that's basically the sand pile you have over here and the 3 police car, former police car, should say.
Come on! Shoot! Shoot! You fucker! Get back! Come on! Get your back down!
You see, we have complications in the far sector off of the golf course right now. Your troops are advancing very heavily over there right now and advancing on them, and they don't want to delay a bit. And as we mentioned, that we are waiting for a call, and them troops are still advancing. Could you hold them troops and stop them?
I'll check that with my boss.
Let's go! Come on! Come on! Come on!
I will go over there and talk to that company commander. Evidently, you have a field phone to contact him, and I will go over there personally. Because the negotiation talks are still on as of yet. Just hold your position right now. They're going to hold theirs. When it gets dark, they want to come out just basically to the clearing here, and they will not advance any further than that. They're not weak, man. These are strong suckers.
The warriors withdraw to the treatment center to make their last stand.
Michael, we've got something here.
All journalists are requested to leave the area through the gate over there. Please move now.
The Army has the media separated. Some of us are on one side of their newest barricade, and 50 feet away I see my fellow reporter Tony Ross on his side of the barricade. And what I think they're doing, and I'm only guessing at this point, there's just a helicopter. What remains is what they are going to do with the warriors who are in the treatment center. Why don't we just do it direct? I mean, is this a rehearsal?
At 5:30 p.m., soldiers check the barricade for booby traps. Nothing is found. As the barricades come down, orders are given to watch out for runaway warriors. Three traditional leaders arrive to join the people in the treatment center.
Process everything right now. Is there any way for a negotiated settlement now, or? I believe there is. There always has been.
The warriors prepare for another advance by the army, while some people of the village take shelter in the federal school.
The army officers came over and told us asked us how many people were in the shelter, and we told them about 100, and they said that all the men, women, and children had to go out in the road and line up and get their identification ready because they were going to check them all. And they said after they checked everybody's identification, the women and children only could go home. So we've asked for all human rights organizations to come and at least have cars ready at the barricade, so when people are arrested and taken, that somebody will follow them so they'll know where they've taken them to. I'm sorry.
Linda.
That night, some of the journalists sleep out on Highway 344 in front of the treatment center. The next morning, the army surrounds the warriors' encampment with razor wire and takes position in the pines. The warriors put up a large curtain to block the view of the soldiers. This maneuver proved to be very annoying to the army. Tension is at the breaking point. By nightfall, the army harasses the warriors with searchlights. Shadows on the wall. Is this the end?
Listen, I'm talking now. Some of your guys throw something at us. Rocks, woods. Some of your guys use their 4x4 to tear the barbed wire. Listen, calm your guys, because I'm not gonna fuck around here. Understood? Understood, that's all. If you have any problem, go on the outline. I have a military job to do here, I'm gonna do it.
Well, back your men up then.
My men will back up as soon as your men are backing up.
They're backed up already.
Oh yeah? Prove it to me.
They started out trying to hit the fence with rocks. They're all at the church on this side here with big bayonets. And they said that rocks and wood was thrown back at them. They took their bayonets trying to cut this screen down because they can't see. That's the only reason that they're doing this is because they cannot see. Get that light off me a minute. Get that fucking light off me. The men are backing up.
Our men are backing up?
They're backing up, yes, right now.
Cannot see it.
Well, that's the thing. We cannot see you either. Then you come forward right here, and you'll see.
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna go on your side.
No, it's not. Nobody's gonna do you no harm. I go over there. I'm not scared. You don't have a cause. You should be real proud. They're gonna have your pictures on the papers as cowards. When you write home to mommy, you better tell them you're in Germany. You don't want to tell them here. She's liable to kick your ass when you get home.
The army uses a crane to see over the curtain.
Tout ce qu'on fait, nous, c'est qu'on veut surveiller. On prend les meilleurs moyens pour surveiller la nuit comme le jour.
Vous nous rappelez votre nom, s'il vous plaît?
Major Marquis Heinz.
M-A-R-Q-U-E-S, Heinz.
H-A-I-N-S-E.
Merci. A-I-N-S-E.
Heinz.
Heinz. H-A-I-N-S-E.
H-A-I-N-S-E.
Haynes.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe I can...
S-E.
S-E, that's right.
Not E-S.
Okay, hold on.
S-E.
H-A-I-N-S-E. Exactly.
Okay.
Whenever a flare would go off, it was, at first, everybody would kind of run to that area and see. And when that would happen, it would leave other areas unguarded.
You did not talk to me.
You didn't talk to anybody.
I was putting it out, ordered it, until they come, the cameraman down, then you move.
There was always that kind of thought at the back of your head, well, what, maybe it's a diversionary tactic or something.
Hey. That's all right.
You have to go and investigate, make sure it didn't burn the pines.
Come on, let's go. Get out of here. Hey, come on.
We lodged a few complaints that these flares are only heightening the chances of people shooting because it would produce a lot of fear, a lot of agitation.
Mom, what's that thing?
No,
I know it's a bomb, Mom.
Yeah, it's some kind of bomb.
What happens if you touch it?
Don't go. It's poison, I guess.
What's poison?
Makes us sick.
We don't know what it is, first of all.
The flare went up and this thing landed next to me. We're sitting here. Look, Bruce is laying there relaxing. And here, and this thing made a big noise in the ground like a big thump.
And if it had killed either one of us, I mean, I know everybody in there would be dead.
Hey, this is free country, buddy. You have your orders and
Our constitutional right, you keep your hands away from the camera. We're going to talk what's happening in our
Now,
home here.
these, you just said, they're allowed in there because it's nothing.
In Ganawagi, the army raids the Longhouse, even though it had promised to stay out of the reserve once the Mercier Bridge was opened.
Why not? It's their house.
Sir, it's from order from higher.
He's welcome. They're welcome in.
Sir, it's from order from higher. No reporters, no television crews. Pass the cord.
They all beat us. We were laying in ditches out there. We were fighting them. They were punching, believe me. They pulled my daughter's shirt right off.
He says we're welcome.
No, sir. The court has been established, sir. No photography crews, no media crews. Pass the court. Guys, sir, I don't ask questions. I just take orders, sir.
The 6 guys jumped me when I tried to stop them from going in the Longhouse. They smashed my face with a butt in the back of the head, on my eye, back of my neck, my hand, it's all cut up.
At the treatment center, when the warriors learn of the raid, they react immediately. Lasagna is from Ganawagi and he is having a hard time controlling himself. Lorraine Montour, who was almost hit by a falling flare the night before, is enraged.
Allez pas là! Mettez-vous sur le barbelé et bougez pas.
You gotta go home and live with yourself. You gotta go home and talk to your children too, huh? I'm a terrorist. You guys better go home and re-educate yourself. Come on, Canada's using you.
Piss on kids too and gonna walk it? Look who's the
Rifle
savage
butt,
now.
unarmed women, innocent women, children. Is that what you do?
Making kids screaming and crying?
Governments have. That's not 5 government.
Your kids are gonna pay for this, man. Let me tell you.
Why don't you fucking try me, huh?
Hanyo, hey, get on now. Hanyo. Ha. Hanyo.
All right, guys, we're gonna fall back.
Come on, guys. Let us resolve these things, okay?
The youngest of the Mohawk warriors, Adoa, is calmed by Bob Antone, a traditional chief.
It's real fucking nice, huh? Come on. That's good, nice lady. Come on. You got nothing else?
Why? Garunda negi. Garunda. Not garundo. Hey, gonna wahta negi. Wahta kenegi.
Lorraine Thompson takes the time to pass on the stories and the language to the children.
Tina horta. Wagegas. Tina horta.
Now that SQ boats are patrolling, the chance of bringing food across the lake is much reduced.
There's no big rush.
No way.
No, there's no
You're not
big
going
rush.
anywhere?
No, I'm not going nowhere.
Okay.
After 4 hours of waiting, every item of food is inspected at 2 different army checkpoints. Margaret Gabriel is allowed in TC to deliver food for the last time.
Jesus Christ. Amen.
Let's walk in, Greg. Go ahead. Let's walk in.
In the name of Jesus. In the name of Jesus. I don't believe this. I absolutely.
So we're
not.
ministers of the gospel. We're concerned about people.
Please, there's nothing to gain, and those soldiers will not
There's
allow
something
you
to gain. There's
in.
souls to be gained. There's people to be gained.
The sun is going down. The warriors' silence speaks of death. Some of them have made their wills. Another night in TC. It is 4 a.m. Alone in his bunker, after days of guard duty and no sleep, Spudrange dozes off. He is jumped by an army patrol and severely beaten.
When I first saw Spud Wrench, I had a terrific anger that welled up inside of me. He was beaten beyond almost all recognition. His head was about 1.5 times the size of an ordinary head. One eye was fully closed. He had lacerations all over his head. My initial impression was anger. How could they do this to a person?
I start yelling and they start beating me with something on the head. About 25 times, there was 3 guys holding me down.
The warrior's condition is reported to Major Tremblay by a military paramedic.
Your guys need to be sent to a trauma center. I'm going to promise you that he's going to be brought back as soon as he's okay.
Okay, he is not to be interrogated by no one or anything?
No, not at all.
Can I have that right, please?
In writing, I cannot do that, and you know that. You're going to have to take my word. His life is more important
thing to me.
That's right.
Right. It is the most important thing to me right now.
It's the same thing for us.
Evidently not. But that's neither here nor there on that right now.
Please.
It takes several hours of negotiations before the army allows Dr. Gorman inside TC to treat Spud Wrench and a civilian ambulance to take him to a hospital.
The first thing I found, everybody's searching. I saw something laying in the sand. It was about this long. It was wrapped in leather. It was a blackjack. That was the thing that they used on him. And I held it by my fingers, and somebody says, "Let me see." I said, "Don't even touch it." And he told us, he says, "They're not fooling." He says, "Be careful."
Finally, the army, who didn't want him to fall in the hands of the SQ, and they knew if he died in a jail, that ultimately they'd be responsible for murder. They had a big verbal fight with the ambulance driver. The army MPs, and their hands were on their pistols, and they were trying to see that we got safe passage to the hospital. Though I had seen him and I had treated him, and I'd sewn up all his wounds, when I saw his picture on the front page of the Montreal newspaper, I wept when I saw it a few days later.
Yes, I gave him my word that if, due to the seriousness of the injuries that was assessed at that time, that the option of coming back could be considered.
Major Tremblay said yesterday before our cameras, quote, "I'm going to promise you that he's going to be brought back here as soon as he's okay." Did the Army break that promise or not?
No. Major Tremblay's company, Company C, has changed places with Company A. Company A is now down in that direction. Company C, back here. Standard procedure. It's just a matter that Major Tremblay's troops have been in the thick of things for a number of days now, and it's a matter of allowing fresh troops to get in there and Major Tremblay's troops to perhaps step back a bit and relax.
But just the idea of putting razor wire in the water, come on guys, get real. I don't think they've really clued into the idea that we're not going anywhere. It's probably a concept that they just can't understand.
Bob Anton returns to replace Terry Dog Stater, who has gone to the peace camp, where the people are upset and angry after hearing about Spud Wrench.
We're all here in solidarity.
It's a war zone.
Came here for peace.
Fucking harass
I'd rather die than have those people die.
No, you're not.
They've took one, and how many more are they going to take? Already, they have Akwesasne surrounded. They got Oka surrounded. What other reservations are they going to surround?
They try to beat up women and children in Kanehsatake. Hey, they pushed us far enough.
All I'm asking is don't let your anger guide you. That's what those men have been fighting for days. If they could talk to you, they'd tell you to wait and plan this out properly.
I talked to my brother, and he said he didn't think he was coming out alive. That's what we got to do, go home and take care of their kids. We want them out.
I've been beaten so many times by the state police, the SQ. I know how it feels. I know how those people feel.
Not afraid to die.
I'm not afraid to die.
live.
I'm not afraid to spend the rest of my life in prison.
You're talking about the lives of a lot of people who've been patient for a long time.
Patient
Where's
for a
your
long
courage?
time. Yeah, well, they're getting beaten and beaten and beaten.
And you're
Who's going to be
saying
next?
It's time for them to die.
No, I'm saying it's time for us to do something.
Well, let's come
Are we going to let another one
Let's
beat up?
come to
How
a
many times have they kept one promise?
That's what
They
we're
kept one
asking
promise.
you to do.
One promise they kept. They promised to take all of our land, and they're doing it.
Myself and Robert Galbraith, when we heard there was no TV cameras here and that people were concerned that a massacre might happen because it wouldn't be televised, we took a small video camera, this one, and we put it in a box and we crawled through the forest, mostly on our bellies, got covered with insects, and we went past the army in broad daylight.
Comment vous expliquez qu'il y a deux journalistes qui ont réussi à pénétrer dans le périmètre sur le
Très bonne question. C'est des gens qui sont très agiles.
There's all this psychological stuff about how you can't get through barbed wire. Well, we put a tarpaulin underneath the wire instead of going over it, and we crawled underneath and came through about 7:30. This is last Sunday.
Qu'est-ce que vous savez sur les deux journalistes qui ont réussi à franchir vos lignes?
C'est vous qui l'avez dit. Moi, en tant qu'on est concerné, il n'y a pas personne qui a passé à travers notre périmètre. À notre avis, c'est des journalistes qui étaient là depuis le début, tout simplement.
Le major Tremblay nous l'a confirmé tantôt.
Je ne crois pas que le major Tremblay vous ait confirmé que personne n'est passé à l'intérieur.
We're your eyes, and they're trying to blind us by getting the press out of here. And I'm not going to leave. I'm not going to be blinded. I want you to see. I want the people to see what's going to happen. I can't understand why the politicians don't realize this, that there's going to be complete anarchy throughout Canada if anybody's hurt here, if anybody's shot, if a gun goes off. That's going to break up the country. That's what it's going to do. It's going to break our country up. And I love Canada. And I love Canadians.
It's beautiful up here. It's really nice.
Okay, let me.
And, the people are really great. And I recommend it to anyone.
Even if we're not recognized as a nation, it's brought all Indian nations together, this fight. So in a way, our battle is won. Major Tremblay had it put there by one of his men. I questioned him about it. He says he had his men put it there. Just to intimidate me, to make me mad. Doesn't bother me at all.
They are soldiers of the Mohawk Nation, and they've conducted themselves well as soldiers and as warriors. And they've been disciplined. They've been real good men out there to hold back and to restrain themselves as much as they had, even though they've been fired upon in this siege. They've maintained a real strong integrity.
Bruce Elijah never seems to rest. He helps take away the anger from the hearts and the minds of the warriors. Day by day, you can see the change in their spirit.
A lot of the guys, too, have changed. They're not really trying to keep up that hard exterior anymore. I mean, they're gentle in their own way. You're seeing more than just the warrior. You're seeing somebody who's a human being.
It's important that we keep our traditions alive, and it's really important that hold on to our language. This is what makes us strong, our beliefs, our customs and our prayers and songs and the drum. This is what keeps us going.
Aujourd'hui, on m'a appris qu'il y avait possiblement 2 personnes des médias qui ont été interceptées par la Sûreté du Québec. Ces mouvements-là qui se produisent depuis quelque temps sont, à mon avis, tout de même une cause d'un potentiel d'escalade et de confrontation. Donc, les échanges de fournitures à l'intérieur du périmètre devront être discontinués.
You all set, Ryan?
Yes, front desk, please.
Yeah.
Here, Otto will lift me up.
Sure, hang on, guys. Yep, take care.
Free at last, free at last.
Hey, y'all take care.
Hey, good night. Watch yourself. Watch yourself. See you, Ryan. See you, guys.
I want copies.
Ryan Remiors, a photographer for Canadian Press, has decided to leave. He is escorted out of TC to be questioned by the SQ at their temporary headquarters in the clubhouse at the golf course.
Most of the print journalists have cell phones, so they can file their stories over the phone. The TV and still guys, it's going to be more difficult. But I think at this point, the only reason people are staying is to see what happens at the end and to be there for the final assault or the surrender, or whatever ends up happening.
Hello, Phil. Hi, how are you? Good, good. I guess you've heard the Army's cut off the telephone inside here, eh? Yes. So who knows what's going to happen next, so hopefully it's not our last call for a while. How's the kids? Good, good. Yes, I can. Hi, honey, how are you? Did you have a fun day at your school? Really? I got your paintings and the big smiley face, the happy face, and it was beautiful. And I got it hanging up at my work right now. Yes, I showed all my friends at work, and they thought it was very beautiful. How's my other little girl? How's little Iona? Is she being a good girl? Did you feed the fish today? Oh, I'm happy. Well, Daddy, maybe see you soon, okay? I don't know when I'm gonna come home, honey.
On n'a jamais arrêté l'acheminement de nourriture ou de fourniture médicale depuis le début. Vous avez été témoin, il y a des camions qui sont venus porter la nourriture.
Got anything for asthma? And if I leave, I can't come back. You're not going to give me any medicine unless I leave here and you take me away. You the commander, sir?
Yes, I am.
Can you explain to me how we can be taken into custody when we're not accused of a crime? Can you explain it?
Policy is journalists are confined to stay over there or to leave. This says a confined area.
Well, I realize that.
Yeah.
Now, it's at the point right now where the condition I have, which is a chronic asthmatic bronchial condition, if it worsens, can be life-threatening. And if you don't believe me, call up the Royal Edward Chest Hospital and ask them for my file. My name is Cash. I'm sure you got a file on me that thick by now. You call up the hospital and ask them if I've ever come close to death, and they'll tell you.
It's your decision, mister. It's your decision.
Yeah, my decision is this. If I want medical treatment, I have to go into custody.
No.
Am I accused of any crime? right now by being here? Because we don't know, because we're not allowed to speak to lawyers either. Excuse me. Do we have the doctor's name? Excuse me, sir. Is it possible to have the name of the doctor I was speaking with? No. I mean, is there any law in operation here?
I haven't seen it.
The hotline says they're not authorized to deal with journalists.
I'm not either.
What the fuck is going on? So we don't fucking exist?
24 hours later, Ted Cash finally receives his medication. A group of Oka residents protest against the peace camp.
We come a long ways, from clear across from Vancouver. Before that, from South Dakota to here. So we feel that we have a right to go there and pray with our brothers and our sisters. We come very much at peace, and we have a pipe with us. And this pipe was a negotiation, a wounded knee. We are the ones that are blend with this earth.
Cops just came here a few minutes ago and warned us if we're smuggling in people, they're gonna come and gonna house over people at the camp and people who tries to get in. That's not right. They treat us like we're garbage.
More and more people are coming to the peace camp, but the SQ turns them back.
We're going in there to pray with our brothers.
I know, I understand you, but the order from now, because it's an emergency zone, so you're not allowed to go in. You must control everything that's going in. So you need an address inside.
There's thousands of people coming. What are you going to do with everybody? We're all
We're gonna turn
coming to
them
show
back.
support.
Like tomorrow, we're supposed to have an area, especially for you people. Well, a place for a camp and...
You mean to detain us?
No. You don't, no.
Detention camp.
It's not a detention camp. It's area, especially for you to put your tent there.
No. This is my country. Don't make that mistake. You know, you cannot be treating us this way.
We don't treat you. I mean, I'm talking to people who come from out of the country here. They don't have a place
You're
to
from
stay.
out of the country. If anybody's out of the country.
But this is our country. Our home and native land, it says. But now they're putting up barriers for my people. We can't do as we like. We got to be careful how we talk or who we talk to in this country. Even in regards to our spirituality.
I'm guaranteed freedom of movement anywhere within Canada. And they say I can't go in there, be with my people. And that's ridiculous. This is not Russia, this is not Nazi Germany, this is Canada.
You allow your leaders of your country to just call people names rather than go and talk with them, and you're never going to resolve anything, and all you're going to cause is death and misery and destruction. Destruction of communities like Oka, destruction of communities like Kanehsatake, and all the rest of them. I mean, I just can't say it enough, how idiotic they're acting on the world stage, whoever we are. What's wrong with talking to one another? If they're going to act like children, then they should watch children a little longer, because right after they get in a fight, 5 minutes later, they're best buddies again.
They all got bulletproof vests.
The army finally allows journalists to approach the front of the treatment center.
There are 12 live journalists here. They got the 50 fucking caliber pointed at their heads. Welcome to South America. Help us, help us. It's getting difficult to do our jobs.
It's unacceptable. I'll ask you right now, please, to come back over there.
There are a dozen people in there who are working hard, trying to tell the story to the whole world of what's going on from that side, okay? The journalists trying to throw their film across the barbed wire to other journalists outside,
and the armed forces interfering with that. Those films are now in the hands of the police. Well, that's a pretty horrible thing. They're not allowed to interfere with human rights here, but they're doing it anyway.
How many eggs did they throw at you?
Let's say that they did throw more than 1 egg at us.
A dozen, 2 dozen, 6?
I don't really know.
But you know they threw eggs at you?
They threw eggs at us.
Your people are throwing eggs at us, so apparently you have too much food.
No, that's
I don't
not
understand
true.
that.
That's not true.
That is true. That vehicle over there, you see the one with an A, a red A on it?
Yeah.
Take the next vehicle. 2 eggs landed right next to that vehicle, and they were thrown from the inside of the perimeter.
You want to show that to me?
You won't be able to see it because that's on the other side.
Shells of the eggs. You want to take me over there?
I can bring you the shells of the eggs.
That you had for breakfast. Well, anyway.
You won't be able to use the shells because I don't think you eat.
We'll take the camera crew over there. Are you here to pick this up? Because we don't waste no food.
They
pick
did.
this up?
I'm sorry, but they did.
Oh, you're here to pick this up? You'll treat my penny.
Yes, I'm here to pick
This is our food list.
The food list to me?
Yeah.
No, I won't send any food list.
Why not?
Because I'm not sending food list. I'm paying this. I'll bring you the shells.
No, we're going to take them over. They want you show us where they hit. We'll take the camera crew so they can see where they hit.
No, you can't see it because that's on the other side of the room. Give me the camera, I'll tape it for you.
No food left here, unless it's your own men. Unless it's your own men trying to pull some shit. We got a new Colonel Klink. Corporal Klink. Major Klink. Colonel Klink. Oh, no, but we also have a bunker picked out for you.
Tycho and Kathy are engaged to be married.
Your vehicle awaits you to the bunker.
Let's go back.
In the journalist's bunker in Oka, they watch as the SQ protected by the army raids Tekakwitha Island in Ganawagi. The police say they found firearms there.
Tell me why you need guys in riot gear and Chinook helicopters to cart away dozens of cases of beer?
No.
Wait, are you confused and perplexed by it?
No.
Why are they doing it?
The Chinooks and the helicopters were not here for the beer. I'm sure you know that. Thank you.
People are leaving the peace camp under pressure from the SQ. No sooner do their buses leave the camp than they are stopped and everyone is questioned.
Okay, what's your name?
Mabel Maddox Data.
What is your date of birth, please? 58?
August 8, 1958.
And your name?
Donc, pas de recours à la force pour les enlever de là?
Je pense pas qu'il va avoir besoin d'avoir recours à quelque force que ce soit.
I live here. You block the traffic. And you block the traffic. Move your car,
fucking
please.
live here!
Move your car, please.
Get off the fucking road. You
Come
work
on.
for us.
Come
You
on.
work for Canadians.
Or do you not? Could you move your car, please? Or do you not? I fucking live here! That's the last time I tell you, move your car. I live here. If you don't move your car, I will do in arrested. You are going to arrest me because I live here? Is my life in danger? To go to my home? Who do you work for? Canada or somebody else? I don't speak French. I don't have to speak French. Okay? Okay, I'll get in my car. I'm going home, though. I'm going this way, where I live.
I will not go. I'm allowed to go anywhere in Canada, anytime.
I'm a citizen of this country. I'm a property owner in Oka. I can do what I like. I want to take these people.
I have not the authority for say you to go. I ask you, wait a moment in your car for the security at all people.
Yeah, but why can't we just leave? Then it'll be secure.
Wait a few minutes, okay?
A few minutes. How long?
I don't know, maybe 15 minutes.
Put your car there. Put your car there.
You just said a little while ago that as soon as she got down here to say that she was taking her to her
you speak
place,
too fast for me, I'm sorry.
we could go.
Could you speak slowly?
No.
I don't speak English very well. If you don't speak too fast, if you speak too fast, I don't understand. I'm sorry.
I have leased my property to these people.
We check that, madam, if you lose your property, is not, we don't applique. Apply that we refuse because we respect for security for Oka. Allez en ville ce moment-là, montez à Kanehsatake et si vous voulez aller là-bas, allez à Ottawa, allez à n'importe quel endroit, c'est à vous. Et ici, c'est une zone contrôlée et ça ne passe pas.
No fucking rights! Sure, arrest the man who wants to stand up for people! No, you guys couldn't even answer us! You couldn't even answer us! And then you go and arrest my husband! You stand back and you laugh at us like we're a bunch of goddamn idiots! We're standing up for our rights! I got a daughter in this car, leave me alone! Listen, I just... My daughter's in the car, please leave me alone!
Madame, okay, madame.
That's not right!
If you don't, okay, madame. Okay, madame.
I'm not that strong, you don't have to twist my arm!
Okay, arrest you, okay? And your kid, okay? You, okay?
Let me go! Just leave me alone!
T'arrêtes-tu dans le bas, là? En bas?
My child's more safe with me.
OK, entrave.
Okay,
Fini, entrave.
Avancez pas ça.
OK, inside.
C'est pas les clés, par exemple, sont là.
Madame,
allons-nous, mon couple.
Yorkie. Your friend. He come for you.
No, I'm not going to be quiet. We have to go there. You lied to us. We couldn't go there. Now we can't stay here. Now we can't go there. Where can we go? This is Canada! Canada, a free country for everyone!
Yeah, we're just trying to get food and clothing in. It's the first time we tried with clothing, and apparently they don't want clothing in. The guys that are in there are still wearing the same clothes since July 11, and fall is coming.
There's women, children in there, and we brought warm clothing like socks and jogging pants and jogging sweater, things like that.
At the present time, there are about 20 women and 8 children there. And certainly these women and children are not terrorists, and they don't deserve the treatment they are getting. They don't allow me to see my daughter. They won't allow us to take warm clothing. And they are now threatening to cut off the food supply.
Mais des vêtements pour l'hiver, vous leur en avez pas fourni.
Quand je suis concerné, il n'y a pas encore de neige, on n'est pas encore à l'hiver.
Il fait froid.
Il y a des maisons, il y a chauffage à l'électricité. En tant que je suis concerné, il n'y a pas de warriors qui couchent à l'extérieur.
Alors, ils ont été forcés d'aller chercher ce que vous avez pas
Non,
vu,
là, vous me faites dire des choses que je n'ai pas dit. Ils ont tout simplement vandalisé des maisons et puis je vous dis qu'on les a vus sortir avec des vêtements et des cannes de conserve.
You guys should just leave it open. You know, if you need to. No, we're not going over there.
Getting food into the treatment center is becoming more and more difficult.
There's my rations. What's the rest?
Look, the bags have been poked at. Look, they've been stabbed.
Each one of the bags, the flour, the bayonet, cereal, anything that has that kind of bag has been bayonet.
How do we know they didn't put nothing in it?
And look at, there's a green one. Every orange is pierced. And our bananas are very ripe, even squished. This is just soft in my hand. Look at this. Squished out. This oil, it's empty basically. It has been pierced by something and leaked out all over, created a mess.
Bacon, they're gonna cholesterol it to death. Jeffrey.
Jeffrey York of the Globe and Mail leaves the treatment center.
There's only 2 reporters left for mainstream newspapers. There's no CBC reporters left. There's no broadcast reporters at all. Well, I think the thing that's the most unbelievable is that in a country like Canada, we're allowing the Army to tell us what can be published in our newspapers and what can be put on our nightly news.
At a press conference, Terry Doug Stater describes the negotiators' final proposal for disengagement.
Do you sense there might be a risk involved here because you're willing to lay down your gun before they...
The government has just announced that the Army will be replaced by the SQ.
The greatest risk right now is that should the Army pull out, SQ will move in and not be interested in seeking peace and having peace. They'd be more interested in seeing these men dead.
Back in TC, behind the razor wire, the Army uses high-pressure water hoses against the warriors. They threw condoms full of water at the soldiers.
Where's your wife tonight?
On September 26, after 78 days under siege, the people reach a consensus. They will walk out of TC.
For the moment, we have to endure persecution. We have to endure our people being mistreated in the courts, in the jails, being beaten, being bayoneted. For now. But in the long course of history, the face of Canada will be politically, socially, economically, and spiritually changed back in favor of our people. And who knows how our great-grandchildren are going to rewrite that. And that's totally up to them. But we will at least be able to leave the earth knowing that while we were here, we did all that we could to set in motion for them a better future. And so for me, that's what Kanehsatake is about.
Once the anger goes, it seems like the only thing that's left is the sadness and just being tired. So I think I would like to just get away and not remember, not think about it for a while, just rest and kind of heal. I'm with good people.
Through all this time, the people took strength from ancient spiritual ceremonies. Now they prepare themselves to face whatever awaits them outside.
Having these ceremonies, you know, started realizing who I am. I didn't come here to kill people, you know. I just came here to protect the land. The government is going too far. We only could take so much, you know.
There were never more than 30 warriors here in TC, and one spiritual leader, one traditional chief, 19 women, and 7 children.
We have to think about the future generation, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. Constantly talk to them about our ancestors, you know, how hard they fought for this land. They sacrificed their lives. There's a long trail of broken promises.
They were prepared for anything. If the people from TC came out, they weren't surrendering. They didn't have their hands held above their heads. They were going home.
But the spirit was there. We never surrendered. It was an exit. It was like being in a twilight zone. We never did the expected thing. It was always the unexpected, and they weren't ready.
Okay, les journalistes, back off a bit. Back off. Back off. Back off, please. Back off.
It was bad enough for us, the women. I mean, the men knew they were going to be beat up on. We all took care of each other as best we could.
One twisted my arms because he was trying to break my wrists. Another guy came over, he banged my head on a road. And they put the cuffs on me. But I would laugh and I'd say things to them. They says, oh, give up, you lost and all. I says, we didn't lose. And they even made more or start struggling more. So they put more guys on, jump on top. And then they see the women and kids laying all over the ditches and all that.
I saw one man being dragged on the ground on his back, and he was holding on to one of the masks. And another one, he was standing up, and he wasn't doing anything to provoke the soldiers or anything, and they were poking the bayonets at him, and they were pushing him around, and they were hitting him, and he was just protecting the mask.
A little boy couldn't get over the wire, and I grabbed him by the collar, and in the confusion, he just got lost with his mom and that, so when I had him, she was laying face down on the ground. And they had handcuffed her with the metal handcuffs. And then she had a pack on her back, and she was hurting. So they couldn't get the satchel off her back. So they says, cut it off with a knife. Well, the boy had seen this, and now he was crying.
The 14-year-old girl was bayoneted in the chest. She was protecting her 4-year-old sister. It was really awful. What saved her from that bayonet going straight in instead of sideways? Must have been the spirits on our side.
Some people reach the village in Oka, but Noriega is arrested by the SQ.
Okay, see. Okay, listen. Okay, go, SWAT, go! Okay, go,
You're gonna kill my family! Their days are coming! My family! I want my family out of there! Get your cameras! They lied to us!
When is it gonna end? When are we gonna have our fucking rights? When are we gonna be treated like humans? Look at that! When is it gonna end? When Barassa has all our headstones lined up? That's not when it's gonna end. Their circle's not finished. It's not finished.
They got us leaning against the bus and they started putting the plastic handcuffs on, and then we got inside and somebody had a fingernail clipper. And as they came in, we were snipping them off. So we had a whole bunch of these plastic bands, and finally, then I threw them out the window. A little while later, all of a sudden, the MP passed by, he sees them on the ground. I don't know if he knew where it came from, but everybody had no handcuffs except the ones that had the metal handcuffs.
Then we start rocking the bus like crazy. We sang some traditional songs and just to comfort everybody, and we just knew we had to stay strong and not to be afraid.
The MP says, if anyone makes a move, shoot him. Just shoot him. Now, if he'd have known nobody had handcuffs on, we could have jumped him, but it was over. It was finished. When they found out that we were family people, they thought we were going to have records as long as our arm. There was families, husbands, wives, children. Who's going to leave their family behind? How it's going to be written in history, if I was a soldier, I'd be ashamed to say I was an Oka or Kanehsatake.
Saint-Jérôme. The people are brought to the courthouse for arraignment.
We were here first, and we sure the hell ain't gonna leave. Be a day in hell, this is just the beginning.
It's not the end, we got children. I hope you guys put your children through this stuff you put us through. You guys jumped on my mother didn't do nothing.
Because they're animals. We ought to stick you on a reservation. And take away your land.
We don't ask for anything that's not ours. You came and you took. You took.
Hey, guys! Hey!
Do you know where he got beaten up?
Did we save any children? If we did, it was worth it.
Here. Stay strong!
You take one arrow and break it, but when you get a whole bunch, you can't break it. And that's the people sticking together.
is ours. Ours as a heritage given to us as a sacred legacy. It is a place where our fathers lie beneath those trees. Our mothers sang our lullaby, and you would tear it from us and leave us wanderers at the mercy of fate.
July 1992. All but 3 of the defendants in the Oka trial are acquitted by a jury. The cost to the federal and provincial governments was over $155 million. Mayor Ouellet was re-elected, and the land issue is still not resolved. Mr. Riptazit Gitpu, the general, known as Tom Poe, a Mi'kmaq from Eskasoni, died February 1992. He was 49 years old. He had taken part in the resistance at Wounded Knee, Kaniage, Restigouche, Akwesasne, and Kanehsatake.
Go back to the learning spiritual ways. And that way everybody will be strong.
That's a part of us, that's a part of me. These trees are the biggest ones I've seen in our territory. Before the Europeans came, we had trees like this all over the place.
We were a small number of people, but the quality of the people that were there was just outstanding.